Hello, my name's Julie. Thanks for joining me today, and if you're new, welcome to my channel, Plans in the Making. If you're looking for creative ways to decorate your journal, then today I'm going to be making some fall window pages with a cute fox theme using some papers that I got from DoodleDiarys. I bought this paper pack over a year ago and I was looking at it recently, particularly these images of these lovely foxes. It also has birds and rabbits, but I'm going to be using the foxes today for my first fall spread in this journal. I've been having a lot of fun making Dutch door pages in this Archer and Olive storybook journal. You may have seen my last Plan With Me video where I made this August currently page and talked about how to make your Dutch doors really simple. But today I thought I would like to try some window pages. When I saw these fox images, it just looked like these two foxes were staring at each other, and I was going to make it really simple and just put them on alternate sides of the page. But then I had the idea of cutting a window to add a little bit more interest. I knew I would need something else to add to the pages, so I always take my inspiration from my starting point, and I flipped through some of my sticker books with these images in mind. And what I found in the Chic fall sticker book was these florals that I felt matched pretty well with the florals in the picture. They're not exactly the same, but the colours are pretty similar. Now, if I was making it easy on myself, I would make sure that the two pictures are at exactly the same height, so that when I cut the window, it will easily show what's underneath. But of course, I never like to do things the easy way. This fox seems to be looking down, and I want to have this image just a little bit further down the page like that. I've got an idea of how I can do it, but I'm not sure if it's going to work. And I may well make some mistakes along the way, but I really enjoy getting creative in my planner. I think before I stick anything on the page and commit to the placement, I need to cut the window. And the good thing about window pages is you don't need any special craft tools or swivel craft knives to make them. You can use an ordinary craft knife. So I have done some measuring. I want the window to be a little bit smaller than the image underneath. I'm just going to check that width is all right and what's going to show, so I can see that we're still going to get plenty of the fox. And I'll mark the top, and for the bottom I know that I need to make sure that this part of the fox's face is going to be revealed. So if I have this about here and follow along with my ruler, I think if I take it down to here we should be okay. I'll draw myself an edge so I know exactly where I'm cutting. If I get this wrong, we might have to work on a plan B. I know when I was starting out making my horizontal Dutch doors, the first time I did it, didn't really quite cut the pages in the right place, but I improved the second time. So I'm planning on trying a few window pages this month so that I can get better at it. I'm going to triple check by just putting the fox image there and looking to see, I don't really want to chop the ears off, And I definitely don't want to chop the face off. That seems to fit. I'm hoping that when I push the page over here, it looks like it will be fine. I think I might just add another line at the bottom. I can alter where I place the picture if it all goes wrong, just to be on the safe side. We'll go down a little bit lower. I really enjoy working with scrapbook paper in my planner and journals. I'm hoping that my craft knife is sharp enough to cut really well. That went a little bit wonky, but I don't suppose it will really show. And the other thing you can do is actually tear the paper rather than cut it straight. But I thought I would go for a clean look today, and maybe in a future video try the other method. Seem to have missed a couple of bits, so if that happens, just go back in with your knife. And there we have our cupped window. Just go in and rub out the pencil marks. I need to do this quite carefully so that I don't rip the paper, particularly on this edge because it's quite narrow. A moment of truth time. Okay, that looks really nice. Oh, that's the wrong fox though. This is the right fox. And the other one I wanted about here. And don't worry, I hadn't forgotten that there would be a space at the top. I've got a plan for something to add in that corner. But so far, so good. I thought this corner floral might look good at the top, so that we don't have a gap. I find it quite hard to place stickers in the corner and see the edge, so a little tip is to use your cutting mat or a piece of coloured paper just so that you can actually clearly see the edge and where you're laying the stickers. Doesn't matter if I go a little bit too high, which I think I have, as long as there's no gap. I need a little bit more here. Maybe this one coming down. And then I want to leave some space for journaling, so that's what this column will be. But I will bring some more flowers along the edge and the bottom. I'll cut one of the larger stickers, so I only need a narrow piece along the edge. This is very sticky. Key, I think, is to keep checking all the time when you're trying something new. Like I can see there's a tiny gap there, so I'll add another floral in. And then use this one in the corner and finish off with this one at the bottom. That's super pretty. I'll have one more in here so that it lines up. And I'll trim this off. This is always a bit, I'm never quite sure which way to turn the book to cut off the pieces. I think it's this way. And that's a lovely page with space for me to put mould lines down for the journaling. And before I stick this down, I need to make sure that it's in the right place. Like that, looks fine. I'll do myself a little pencil mark just so I don't get it wrong, and we'll stick that down with some glue. I'm using some Pritt stick rather than double-sided sticky tape or tape runner. I think this will be fine. So I can get to those little edges. And there's also just a little bit of give before it becomes permanent, so I can make sure that I'm happy before I commit to pressing it down. And there we have a really gorgeous fox page. So one down and 3 more to go. I don't think this one I will surround with flowers, as I like the pages to look a little bit different. So I might have that one just as it is. So again, I'm going to make sure I stick it in the right place. That's pretty good. These are really pretty paper sets. I have one that's bee themed that I didn't get to use this year, but I shall definitely make some spreads with that for summer next year. Perfect. I may section off this area with washi, but what I want to do is bring some of the red over onto this page. So I thought I could bring in this scalloped washi from Planything and go around the edge. Not sure how it will look, but I'm going to give it a try. That didn't quite go right there. Probably need more practice at making the corners of the scallop edge meet, but it's not bothering me too much. I think having the scallop on the other side would just be too much scallop, although one might argue you can never have too much scallop. But I want to keep as much space as I can for journaling, so I've chosen this very thin pink stripe instead. And apart from adding the mild liner lines and possibly a quote, the only other thing is whether to bring some florals over onto the other side, even if it's just in the corner or at the top. Now, if I hadn't already cut out the paper, I could have laid this down first and then used my knife and cut around the flower so that I'd have a pretty flower edge. So that's something I've learnt for next time. Maybe hold off on cutting the window until I've decided what's going to go around it. But I think I can still get most of this sticker down. Might have to just trim off a couple of pieces. looks quite pretty. Just have to trim that little piece off. Could be tricky. And we won't waste that little piece. Maybe add it. To the corner there. And I think I will look and see if I can find a quote before I do anything else. I knew there'd be lots of good quotes in this Wildly Chic from Live Love Posh, as they're all about living in the wild or being wild. So I had quite a few to choose from. Thought I'd go with this Embrace the Wild side. And add a few more flowers just to frame the quote a little bit, trying to keep it level here. I have so many Live Love Posh florals. I'm quite pleased to be able to be using some up. I don't know whether I want to have a stripe here. I probably should for balance. So hard getting the tape straight. I think that's it, because I am a little bit fussy about those sorts of things. That would probably be a good place to put the date for these pages. But I'm aware of this bigger gap here. I think actually something like a butterfly would look nice there, because the flowers would just look like they're appearing from nowhere. I'm sure I must have some butterflies that will match this spread. I found a whole page of butterflies in this Floral Blossoms sticker book that I hadn't even used. And we do have one that's red, which I think will fill the gap perfectly. So apart from the mould liner lines, we'll call those pages done. Now what to do on these pages. I like my pages to look a little bit different from each other, even though obviously we'll have the fox theme, but I won't bring any florals in on this one. I found this Planything Washi. I thought I could add to the top and bottom of the page. I'm never quite sure whether to take it all the way across or do it in separate strips, but I will use the X-Acto knife to cut it there so that it really does stick to both pages. My scissors have got lots of things stuck to them, and I'm thinking, if I'm not going to bring florals in, am I going to bring anything else at all, or just the lines? And interestingly, I followed the dot grid line there, but it doesn't look straight to me, but I will do my best to ignore that. I haven't framed the window, and I do think it needs something to strengthen it a little bit. So I'll bring in some more Planything washi, this time hexagonal washi. It will run into this washi at the top. I don't think it's too noticeable. I quite like how that little overlap looks in the corner. So I might leave it. Probably bring in another quote on this page too. And I think if I did this again, I wouldn't cut the frame quite so near to the edge, because it's made this part rather flimsy. And I went looking for fall leaves, and the first ones that I found were these Planything Autumn Leaves and Florals, quite an old sticker book. But I felt the colours matched pretty well with the foxes, because there's also this reddy purpley hue which we have around the fox here. So I may use those. They are clear stickers though, and I did wonder if I should put them onto label paper to turn them into paper stickers, because the idea I had was to use them on top of the washi, but I don't think it will look too bad with the washi showing through. I've got this little corner where there's a gap where the washi didn't quite reach the torn piece of paper, so I'm going to add one there, and maybe just scatter them across the washi at the top. I'm going to cut the next one so that I can take it across the centre of the page without it creasing. And I've got the tricky part of matching it up. I'm not too sure about this at the moment, but it was either use the leaves on the washi or somewhere on the page, and that reduces the writing room. I'm really not sure I'm liking that, so I think I'm going to backtrack and take those off, maybe have them just at the bottom, but it sort of stops the clean look I had going on. So I'll be right back when that's done. Luckily they came away pretty easily. This is probably the point where I'm editing the video and thinking, why did you take those off, Julie? They looked really nice. We'll try them at the bottom instead and see if I like that better. I might even end up putting them back on the top, but we will see. I'm still feeling unsure. This is where it would be helpful if I could hear what you think. I did want to put a quote there or under that one. It makes the page feel very busy suddenly. Maybe the leaves are a little bit too large, but I don't hate it. Although now that stands out like a sore thumb because it hasn't got anything on it. I think it's just too much to add it at the top as well. I'm wondering if it would make a difference if I had some leaves coming off the bottom of the page here, rather than leaving this strip white, or whether that will just make it even busier. Help! I can only try it and see. Use that one I cut up before. I think I like this better. I'm not sure, but I'm going to leave it like that. Maybe there's room for a small quote there. We've got this: take risks, make memories, and let your soul run wild. I think will just fit. And I have a little fly flying around. That's really annoying, but I'm going to carry on. Honestly, don't need much more on this page. I've stepped back and had a good look at it, and what I think it needs is some of these darker colours brought to the top. And because I don't really want to add any more decorative stickers, I'm thinking if I just add a strip of washi, although I can't see the edge of the page, that might do it. If I can get it straight. Still a little tiny gap. And still. I think I feel better about that. white edge showing. It's still showing, but never mind. I think that does help. Although, do I really want it here? Or would it look funny if it stopped here? I think it will look funny, so down it goes for about the 4th time. If I was Mary Ellen planning with Bumble, I'd have made up some story about these 2 foxes and their love story, but I'm not going to name them or make up a story. It's obvious they are friends or more. But I'm really pleased with how this window page has turned out and how beautiful the pages look. So I'll add the lines now and be back to show you how it looks. I added the lines with some zebra mould liners. I had to deliberate what colour to use. I did have a colour quite similar to this, but I felt that it would detract from the decoration. So I went with the pink to match the flowers. And I really love how it looks because your eyes are pulled towards the side rather than the lines. Those eagle-eyed viewers of you may notice that I did tidy up the scallop border a little bit. And I added a flower in here because there was just a white gap. I much prefer the lines being closer together. When I first started using lines in this journal, I did try to draw them myself and space them in the dot grid spaces, but I really didn't like that look at all, and also felt I wouldn't have much room to write, whether I wrote on the lines or between the lines. So I regret that now, but I was learning as I went along, and now I will stick to doing the lines this way. I had a little hiccup with this page. I'm not quite sure why it happened this far down, but I suddenly noticed that the edge had gone dark, and I couldn't work out why there was a little black mark on my zebra mould liner when it had done all these lines, but I realised that it came from the edge of the ruler. Even though I gave it a good clean, it did happen again there. So a little tip from me, and something I've learnt from doing this, is that you probably need to wipe your ruler quite frequently when you're drawing lines, just in case there's any transfer from other pens. I chose this more muted colour, which I think really works because you really notice the border at the bottom and the foxes. I hope you've enjoyed seeing me make these window pages and have maybe picked up a tip or two. All the links to the shops I've used will be in the video description, and remember, you can use my discount code JulieSave12 when shopping with DoodleDiarys. If you'd like to see any of the other spreads that I made in this journal, then you can click on this playlist on the screen for more Plan With Me's, including both horizontal and vertical Dutch door spreads. Do like, comment and subscribe, and click that notification bell so you can find out when my next video is up. Until next time, happy planning, take care, and see you soon.